everything I learned was from scratch. I knew programming from before, but it was not about programming an app. I knew about programming because it was included in it. I knew about programming with Python because we did some scientific programming with it. At the university, we were programming all the time. There was almost no course where we didn't have any programming task. Programming is a natural part of a physics curriculum in Norway. It's not a big deal. It's just programming. It's not a big deal. And we didn't make any fuss about anything or something. So, and that's the great thing about programming. Back then, even though we didn't have ChatGPT, we could learn anything through YouTube. And of course, through other online sources as well. I always think of programming like construction, like building a house. But if you want to build a house, you need a lot of material. You need to have strong machinery. You gotta have a lot of money. But with programming, it's all the same. It's like building a machine that changes data, building a machine that does something to data in a specific way you want it. But the thing is, it costs you zero. And that's the big difference. There are no costs involved in programming. You can just start and do it on your own. It's not a big deal. It's astonishingly simple to start programming, and that's also the reason why it was no problem for me to learn everything on my own. I didn't have any sort of supervision or something. Nobody that was next to me and told me you have to do it that way. And so the only thing that told me whether I was right or whether I was wrong was the computer. No one else. If the computer did what I expected, then I was right. If the computer didn't do what I expected, then I was wrong. And that's it. You don't need to have any experience if you can do countless mistakes, but those mistakes are really unimportant, you can fix them. If you can do countless mistakes, but none of these mistakes has any sort of harm because you're in a sandbox environment, then these mistakes, the cost of these mistakes is zero. It's the cost of these mistakes is zero. You have to do countless mistakes in order to get something done. On the other hand, in the construction environment, it's basically the same thing as programming. The only difference is that a mistake can cost a human's life. A mistake can cost you millions of dollars in the construction business. And that's why software engineering is completely different from any other domain from any other work domain, because the mistakes you make, they are worth zero damage, because you can have backups. And this is the reason why experience doesn't matter, because the mistakes are worth zero damage. For instance, imagine a surgeon. If a surgeon does a mistake, then the patient is dead. But if I do a mistake on my code, I get an error. I get an error message. That's really annoying, but it's still nothing. It's nothing. And this is the reason why experience doesn't matter in programming. You know exactly whether you are right or whether you are wrong. The only thing that matters in programming is intelligence. And of course, the most important thing is diligence, not experience. If you're experienced, but you're not diligent, then you're a loser. But if you're the most unexperienced guy and you're extremely diligent, you can program, you can code anything, I really promise you. So shut up about experience in programming. Of course, it's needless to say that if you're more experienced, the error rate goes down. That's true. It doesn't matter, but still, if you have a high error rate because you're unexperienced, but you can compensate this with your passion, with your diligence, and it's absolutely equivalent to an experienced guy who has average diligence. But even more important is passion. If you have a bug, if you encounter a bug, and it takes you hours, takes you days, most of the time hours, the whole day to solve it, you need to be absolutely like going crazy to solve this fucking bug. Because if you're not searching for solutions like your life depended on it, you ain't gonna solve this bug. You need to be crazy and just maybe just try to run for maybe 30 times until you make 30 changes, 30 new tries, and then you get it. You have to be this crazy to get it. If you're just waiting for your salary to come in, it's not enough to solve a bug. You need to be a crazy ass motherfucker. Because only then you're gonna show the computer who's boss. You need to go beyond your limits and just stare at the screen for hours and desperately search, desperately try anything you find on Stack Overflow, and in the new days also desperately try anything you find on ChatGPT, desperately try anything you find through ChatGPT. Let me tell you again, there's only one thing I love in life, and it's actions that lead to results. I don't want anything else. I want to feel that my work, my hard work, does something, that it does something good. Either make computers, just do what I want, make computers, get the result that I need. That's what a programmer should do. That's the only thing of a programmer. That's the only task of a programmer. Make the computer do what it should do, nothing else. And it's kind of, I wonder about why I was most of the time thrown out after the second round. It's never been the case that I have never been, it's not been the case that I had not been invited. It's like people found out something about me that they didn't understand or didn't want to hear, or that they couldn't process. Am I so much different from anybody else? What's the issue with me? Is it wrong to be passionate in Germany in 2023? Is it wrong to love what you do is it wrong to love what you do in Germany in 2023? Is it wrong to love actions that lead to results in Germany in 2023? Tell me. What do we want in Germany anymore? What do we want? What do we expect from life here? The government recently, during the COVID time, it spent 50 million euros on developing our COVID app. 50 million euros. What the fuck? You don't need any money to develop anything. Of course, you need the time of people. But how many people do you need? That's just absurd. I could develop my app on my own. My app has got a range of functionalities. It facilitates matchmaking, looking for partners, submitting your information to be found by others. It facilitates a chat group. And of course, it facilitates online payment. And it also facilitates being paid out using PayPal's batch payments, although PayPal hasn't yet granted me access. So that's all it facilitates. Not all. It also facilitates to diligently and carefully check the input of every user, that it makes sense. Of course, since we're in Europe, it's a no-brainer to also have a 3D secure payment. That's also no big deal. I could set up all these. I could program all these functions for two apps, actually two. One of them the Android app, the other one the iOS app, in around about 1 year, full time, one person. So just tell me, does anybody have a yearly salary of 50 million euros? If, let's say, the COVID app is just as many functionalities as my app, which are quite a few, but it's not like it's not an immense app. So the German COVID app is not immense either. And imagine it took you 1 year to program it on your own. But did anybody get 50 million euros? Just tell me in the comments. Where did all the 50 million euros go? And of course, there's the link to my app down in the description if you like flying. And if you want to send things quickly, maybe you can meet someone there. It basically encompasses all the airports around the world. Maybe not tiny airports or something, but all the major ones. And I wish you a great day.